Last summer was the summer of women becoming billionaires by going on tour. Beyoncé went on tour. Taylor has been on tour. So how can you get in on this touring action? Yes, you as an entrepreneur. When someone has that close connection with you, now they're ready to become a customer for life. It's time to create the business model for this tour. We're gonna map this out so that you actually plan a tour that's gonna make you money. This gives people an opportunity to experience you, experience your brand. At every single stop, I had 300 people sharing about my book all at the same time, every single time. And so that created a ripple effect. And I had friends reaching out to me saying, I feel like everywhere I turn, everyone is talking about your book. I'm gonna give you a fly tour on a budget. Watch me work, okay? You wanna make more money? You are in the right place. Welcome to the Hello 7 podcast. That's 7 as in 7 figures. I'm your host, Rachel Rogers. So last summer was the summer of women becoming billionaires by going on tour. Beyoncé went on tour. Taylor has been on tour for, I don't know, forever. I think she's going to be on tour for the next decade. But between the Renaissance tour and the Eras tour, and, you know, we've heard of a lot of other artists touring as well. So how can you get in on this touring action? Yes, you as an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a blockbuster pop musician to go on tour and to get this money. Now, your tour might not make you a billionaire like Beyoncé and Taylor, but you can still make some good money by going on tour and attract a lot of attention to your business and your offers. So let's talk about going on tour. Before we go any further, I've got something that's going to help you make those $1 million moves. Trust me, this is the game changer you've been waiting for, so stick around. On September 26th, we're hosting the $1 Million Coach Summit, a one-day all-access pass to the strategies and secrets working right now in the coaching industry that will work next year too. Imagine getting set up to win in 2025, learning what makes a 6- and 7-figure coaching business work, plus the mindset shifts and action steps to make it all happen. The summit takes place online, so no travel, no hassle. Just pure, concentrated growth for just $97. Don't be the one who hears about it afterward and wishes they'd join. Be the one who shows up, takes action, and gets results. Go to hello7.co/summit and secure your spot now. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. I will see you there. So over the last year, I've done 2 tours, actually. I went on the $1 Billion Creator Tour with my friend Nathan Barry to launch his podcast. I was his co-host for the first 10 episodes. And so we went on tour to promote the podcast. And so we were in New York, we went to Nashville, we were in Austin, we went to LA, and I think that was it. So 4 cities. And we had an amazing time and connected with hundreds of entrepreneurs and listeners in person. And then more recently, this summer, I went on tour to promote my new book, $1 Million Action, which is the workbook companion to We Should All Be Millionaires. And so I went to New York and Atlanta and LA to promote that workbook, which was so much fun. I had a blast connecting with so many entrepreneurs, literally 1,000 entrepreneurs I got to see in person during that tour during the month of June. So let's talk about touring. Why are more entrepreneurs not doing this? I think it's such a great idea. And I want to tell you my reasons why I think you should go on a tour. And it doesn't matter what you do. You could be a therapist. You could be, selling products, physical products. You could be selling services. You might be a coach or a consultant. It doesn't matter what you do. If you want to shine a light and get more attention on your work, you can use a tour as a way to do that. So let's talk about the reasons why I think you should consider going on tour. So reason number 1, attention. Right? If you want to bring more attention to your work, it could be your podcast. It could be a book you have coming out, but those aren't the only things. You might have a framework that you use to help people get results, and you want to shine a light on that framework and make that framework famous. And so maybe you set up a tour to be teaching that framework in different places and doing a workshop around that framework. You could do a speaking tour where, maybe you come up with a new keynote, and instead of waiting for all of these different conferences to hire you to speak, maybe you just set up your own tour and do a keynote. A good friend of mine, Rachel Cargill, did that to launch her career really to the next level. She created a lecture series and she went around to different colleges and she made $10,000 per stop. And she had many, many stops. So she made a lot of money. And of course, that's where she started. But a lecture series is something that you could totally do as a way to bring attention to something that is important to you. It might be a cause that matters or a message that you have to share. Any of these things can be done in the form of a tour. And it's going to bring attention not only because you're selling tickets to this event and having people there in person, experiencing the thing, right? But you can also do cool things in person that you can't do online to get more attention, like having everyone in the audience share about it right then and there on social media during the actual event, for example, or having everyone at the event go through the content together, and then you've got literally 50, 100, 1,000 testimonials right there at one time when you do it in person like that. So attention is one of the main reasons why you would do a tour, is to bring attention to your business, to your brand, to a new product that you're launching, or a new framework that you've created, or a message that you want to share. Whatever it is that you want more eyeballs on, a tour can help you get more attention on it. Part of the reason why you're getting that attention too is because it's rare, right? You don't see entrepreneurs going on tour all the time. So when you have the audacity to set up a whole tour and be going around the country to share a particular message or share your podcast, right? Or create this experience for people, they are interested because it's not the norm, right? You're going outside of what most people do. And so therefore it's going to attract more attention. The second reason why you should consider going on tour is connection, right? You get to connect with your customers in person. There is so much data you can get online for sure, without question, especially with social media. But when you are in person with your customers, you get to see what they're wearing, the faces they're making, the jokes that they laugh at. Did they show up early? Did they show up late? Who did they come with? Who are they talking to? What's their demeanor? There's so much information you get to take in about your clients. And then you get to see who is attracted to your message? What kind of people are they? How old are they? What's their experience? What kind of music are they responding to? What kind of jokes are they responding to? What kind of things that I'm saying really hit home for them, right? So you get to interact with people and take in that data, especially, on the $1 Billion Creator Tour. After each podcast episode that we recorded in front of a live audience, we would do a little happy hour. And so we would network with people and have conversations. And so we would get so much information from the audience about what's hitting for them, what they're excited about, which episodes they love the most, right? So that's a lot of information that you can take in to, guide your decision-making as you're creating future content, right? Or creating other products or offers for your people. The other thing you get to do is to connect with your clients on a deeper level. When people have experienced you in person, you accelerate the relationship so much faster, right? How many podcast episodes do they have to listen to? Or how many social media posts do they have to engage with? How many emails do they have to open up, right? Before they feel like they know you and they trust you and they like you, and therefore they're willing to buy with you. Whereas if you do it in person, right? If you have an in-person experience and an in-person tour, all of that can happen really quickly, in the experience, right? So in that 2 hours that you're spending with them, or 4 hours, or however long your tour thing is, you can make all of that happen really, really fast, because in person, just the opportunity to connect and build trust happens so much faster. You also give people the opportunity to work with you in a low cost way. Usually a ticket to a tour is not necessarily going to be as expensive as your full-blown services, or maybe as purchasing your products. And so this gives people an opportunity to experience you, experience your brand, build trust and relationship with your brand. And, now they're like, oh, well, I went on the tour and it was amazing and I learned so much and I got so much out of it. Now I'm ready to buy the other thing, right? The more expensive thing. So that connection with your audience that gets accelerated so much faster in person, that's another reason to go on tour. So the third reason to go on tour is to create content. You can create so much content in person. So if you're doing batch days where you're creating all of your content, every week or every month, you could go on tour and each tour stop is going to provide so many reels that can be created, so many audience reactions. You can record the entire session that you're doing, right? And that can be content and future classes. So much content can be made even on traveling to each stop, right? And just the visual experience of landing in new cities. All of that can be creating a ton of amazing content for your business that you could provide content for months just from one single tour. The other thing, a pro tip that I did on my book tour is I had every single person at each tour stop, and we had 300 people per tour stop, in some cases more. And at each stop, I would take a moment during the session and say, hey, everybody pull out their phones. And I would tell them, I need your support to support this book because my book actually was out of print, right? We sold so many copies of the book that there was no more in the warehouse. And so because of that, I wanted to send a message to my publisher that hey, make sure you print more copies of my book because this is somebody you need to bet on. And so I said to them, will you, take a picture of yourself or a video of yourself here at the tour, tag me, tag my publisher, share that your experience that you're having here at this tour. And so at every single stop, I had 300 people sharing about my book all at the same time, every single time. And so that created a ripple effect. And I had friends reaching out to me saying, I feel like everywhere I turn, everyone is talking about your book. That's what you can create, that sort of 360 experience, right? Where your ideal customer feels surrounded by your content. So something like that can really happen at a tour. And it's so easy. All you have to do is ask people to participate and give them the prompt to do it. Roi the Millionaire Summit is back for the third time. It's happening in January 2025 for entrepreneurs that are looking to grow a 7-figure business and beyond. We'll have amazing speakers, incredible networking, lots of connection, community, and fun, and actionable steps that you can take to get a return on your investment in this amazing event. It's all happening January 15th through the 17th in Orange County, California, right outside of LA. So easy to fly to. And what's really special about this year is that we are including luxury accommodations with your ticket. That's right, you don't have to pay an extra fee for a hotel room. It's all included in your ticket. But these rooms will sell out and tickets are going fast. And the price goes up every week. So you will be rewarded for taking quick action. So make sure you go to hello7.co/ROI to get your ticket now. Another reason to do the tour is to have fun, right? Because we're online all the time. We're doing Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. So much of how we work these days is on the internet. So being in person is the rare occasion. So why not do that and have a good time, right? You can make a networking thing part of your tour. You can have a party as part of your tour. But it's a way for you to have fun and be with people in person and have a good ass time. Just having fun is a reason alone to do the tour. Because if your business feels like a slog, you're going to give up and quit eventually. So this is a way to inject some fun and some entertainment. You could even have entertainers. I've actually held events where I've had someone do stand-up comedy. They did a set, right? Or I've had musicians come and play. I've had, this guy called the Poetry Fox, true story, look it up. And he would do poems on demand for people. So they would just give him a word and he would type on his little old school typewriter a poem, a custom poem for them, right? So there's so many fun, cool ways that you can collaborate with other people and have fun experiences built into your tour. So you have a good time, your customer has a good time as well. And if they're having a good time, that will lead to my last point why you should do a tour is because you will make money. And making money is what we are in business to do, right? That's part of it. We want to have an impact and we want to make money. And so a tour allows you to do both. So the cool thing is you can make money on the tickets, and we're going to get into that in more detail later in this episode. So the ticket sales, from your tour alone can make you money. But then on top of that, when you are in person with your customer, you don't want them to leave that room without you making an offer. So that's a sales moment as well. So not only can you make money from the ticket sales of people being there, but then you can pitch something while you are at the tour stop, right? So you can invite everyone to join your mastermind, or invite everyone to purchase some special edition of your product, or invite everyone to purchase a package of services with you, whatever it is, right? So once you've built that know, like, and trust so quickly in person, now you're in a better position to sell. And to me, selling in person is the best way to sell. Everything else is secondary. So if you're in person with your customer, that's a great opportunity for a sales moment. So those are your reasons why you should do a tour. Now let's talk about how you should do it. So now you know that you want to do a tour, but how do you go about doing the tour? Right now, I'm going to walk you through some of the planning process and some of the questions you should be asking yourself when you are going into planning a tour. And at the end, I'm going to give you a link to download all of these questions inside a worksheet to make it really easy so that you can use my tour planning worksheet to plan your first tour. Okay, so the first question that you want to be asking yourself is, what is my tour about, right? So what is your tour going to be about? What do you want to bring attention to? What is the thing that you want to sell more of? What is the thing that you really want people to know about you or know about your business? What is the purpose of this tour? Why are you leaving the house, right? And why are you inviting other people to leave the house as well? So whether it's your book, your ebook, your podcast, and you're recording live podcasts, maybe it's workshops you want to teach, maybe it's a speaker series, maybe it's a networking experience or a coaching collaboration moment, or it could be literally a dance performance or a concert, like whatever it is that you are creating for people, just decide what that thing is, right? What is the meat? That is the content. That's like, if you think of people like going to a concert, right? Or going to a show, what is the show about? Like, that's what this question is. And depending on what that is going to, decide what your content will be. So obviously, if you want more attention on your podcast, then for the tour, I would do live recordings of your podcast with a studio audience there, and maybe then do a Q&A at the end. If you want more attention on your book, then the traditional way is like the author gets interviewed by a friend or someone else, asking them questions about this book, and it's a discussion about the book, right? If you want to highlight a framework that you've created that you want to share with people, then you might do a workshop, right? Where you're walking people through that framework and teaching it to them at each of the tour stops. So whatever that thing is, decide what the meat of your event is going to be. Like, that's decision number one, but it's a simple one and usually an obvious one. You know what you want to sell. You know what you want people paying attention to. The next question you need to ask yourself is, where am I going to go? Where am I taking this tour to? What cities will I be hitting up? And I mean, you could hit up, 100 cities or 3. I highly recommend starting with 3. 3 is manageable and doable, especially if this is your first time going on the road and doing a tour. My best friend, Robert Hartwell, he always plans like a 12-city tour, a 16-city tour, 24-city tour, but he is a Broadway performer, right? He was a Broadway performer for 10 years. He was on touring shows. So he's used to hitting up city after city after city. He understands the mechanics of that and how to make that happen, and he has a team to help him. I personally have a large team and would not do a 10-city tour. That sounds exhausting. So make it simple. You can always do phases. Like if you do a 3-city tour and it's really successful, you can always add 3 more cities, right? And do another 3-city tour. You could do a tour every summer, or you could do a tour twice a year, right? So you could decide, depending on how successful it is, how much you want to incorporate this into your business. But keep it simple to start. Set yourself up for success by not going banana cakes, right? And just a couple cities is more than enough. So 3 cities is a great place to start. Now, which cities? How do you decide? Do you decide based on where you feel like going? Or do you want to decide in a more strategic way? I hope so, because the cities that you feel like going to might not be cities that you actually have an audience in. So obviously you want to go to the top 3 cities that your audience is in. And you can figure that out just by literally looking on Instagram. You can see where your followers are or other social media platforms. You could do this with your email marketing software. They can show you where the majority of your subscribers are, like which cities your subscribers are in. The other thing you could do too is survey your audience and ask them, which cities should I come to? And maybe do a poll on social media or do a poll or send a survey via email and see which cities your audience is saying. You want to go to the cities that you have a large audience in. It's not about, is this a world famous city? Is it a city that would be fun? Is it an exciting city? None of that matters. All of that matters is you actually have an audience there, because that means you'll actually be able to sell the tour tickets, right? So my audience, the majority, or I should say the cities that the biggest concentration of my audience are in is New York, Atlanta, and LA. Those are the top 3 cities. And so those are the 3 cities that I chose for this tour, because it just makes sense, right? So choosing your cities is the next step. It's time to create the business model for this tour. Yes, we have to do some math, because we have to make sure the math is mathing, because if it doesn't, then you lose money, and we don't like that, right? We like when you have profits. So we're going to map this out so that you actually plan a tour that's going to make you money instead of causing you to lose money. So the business model entails quite a few things, right? You have to ask yourself some really important key questions, like how much is this tour going to cost you, right? How much are the venues? Do you have access to free venues, right? Do you have a friend that has an amazing house in that city? Do you have a friend that has a restaurant? Do you have access as alumni to a college, right? Is there a church you could do it at? Churches and colleges and schools tend to be lower cost places that you can host events at. Other places are co-working spaces. Co-working spaces on the weekends or evenings tend to be a really nice, cost-effective option for a venue for your tour. So that's going to be the key thing, right? After you know which cities you're going to be in, now you need to know what is the venue that I'm going with. And I will tell you, for the $1 Million Action Tour for my workbook, we chose to do it in churches. Churches are cheap, okay? So you're supporting a local, community institution, and it's inexpensive. And we do something at Hello 7 called Money Church. And so it was also on brand, right? And so you can make a low-cost venue really cool and make a lot of sense and align with your brand. So we chose churches that were obviously open and supportive to people of all backgrounds, of all sexual orientations, that stand up for social justice. Like, we were very specific about the churches we wanted to support. And then we also came with the branding so that we made it make sense for our audience so that they understood why they were in that venue in particular. But at the end of the day, it kind of doesn't matter. Just find a space where you can bring people together. And there's a lot of things that you can do with a space to make it feel more inviting. Things as simple as adding some candles, adding some flowers, adding some music. All of that can create a vibe, right? You can add a little setup. Like, I have done this in the past with IKEA furniture, where I bought 2 chairs and 2 pillows and a little rug and a little end table for literally $300. And then that was my little stage setup, and I had it in my garage. And whenever I did an event, I would pull out my little stage setup. So there's a lot of ways that you could do this in a cost-effective way. But clearly, venue is a really important question. And so figure out the venues that you're going to choose. When I did it in churches this summer, it was anywhere from $1,000 to $500. That was the range. And that was in New York City. Probably in other places, it's even less expensive. Or in some places, they might be willing to lend you their venue for free. The other costs that you might want to think about, are you inviting special guests? For example, if you're doing a podcast tour and you're going to have people that you're interviewing, do you have to house them, right? Pro tip, choose people that live in the city that you're visiting, because they will have an audience that's in that city. And then also, you don't have to house them, right? So be strategic in your planning so that you keep your costs as low as possible. What are your travel costs for the tour, right? You're going to have plane tickets or train tickets, or you're going to be on the road in your car, right? So think about those costs. Think about hotel costs. Think about plane tickets. Of course, what I did for my tour this summer is I used miles. So I used miles for all my flights. I used points for my hotels. So really, my costs were really, really minimal. And that was on purpose because this was like an add-on. And my husband, who's the CFO, was like, we're not spending a lot of money on this tour. And so I was like, I'm going to give you a fly tour on a budget. Watch me work. Okay. So see the challenge of not having a lot of money as an opportunity, right? I've done events at really inexpensive community spaces. And then I literally went to Trader Joe's, bought all the flowers, arranged them in vases myself, and just made it look pretty, right? So no matter what the space, with very little money, get your friend who's like good with design and understands aesthetics to come along and help you out. Maybe pay them to be a part of it or give them a free ticket to the tour as part of it, whatever, work something out. And you can do this inexpensively, but just make sure you understand what are all the costs involved in this tour, okay? So your travel costs, can you stay with friends, right? Can you use points and miles? These are all the questions to ask, but think about what is every cost involved, right? For doing this tour. So I shared some examples. You can stay in airport hotels. There's a way to do it where it's comfortable. You're not, necessarily staying at the scary Motel Inn, but you can make it affordable for yourself. Once you have your hard costs, we're going to do some math, right? What you need to do is calculate the cost of attendance. Okay, that is the metric you need to understand. What is the cost of attendance? So when somebody walks in the room and attends my tour, what does it cost me to have this person in the room? For any events, you need to know the cost of attendance because that's how much you have to spend to get that person to be in that room. And I'm going to show you how to calculate it in just a second. And then once you have that calculation, you can add on your profit to make sure that it's a profitable event for you. Okay. Yes, we're going to make a profit even on the ticket sales. And then I'm going to share a little bonus tip with you to make even more profit in a second. Okay. So let's talk about how you calculate your costs. So once you have your hard costs, right? Again, venue, hotels, planes, any attendance costs, try not to feed people on your tour. As soon as you start feeding people, it gets real expensive. Although I have to say, I have had an event where I went to the local Jamaican restaurant and got beef and chicken patties and veggie patties for everybody. And it was a huge hit. Everybody loved it. So did I. So there are ways to feed people inexpensively too, and still have it feel like a great experience. But if you can avoid it, do not feed people on tour. Usually these events are 2 to 4 hours. Try not to have them in the middle of mealtime, right? Like don't have your tour stop at lunchtime every day because people are going to expect lunch if you're interrupting their lunchtime, right? Or I guess you could do BYOB or something like that, but just make sure you think through the timing of it and try to avoid feeding people with your first tour. So what you're going to do is take all of your costs and add them together to get your nut, right? Like this is what this tour is going to cost you altogether. So you're going to take all of your costs, add them together, and then you divide them by the number of people you can host during the tour. So let me give you an example. Let's say at each location, you can host 50 people on your tour. And you're doing 4 locations. So you have a total of 200 people that you're going to host in person during this tour. If your total costs are $20,000, right? And I know I'm throwing a large number at you, but it's an example. If your total costs are $20,000 for everything that it's going to cost you to make this tour happen, then that's $100 per person is your cost of attendance. You're just dividing your total costs by the number of attendees, right? And so that gives you $100 per person as the cost of attendance. So the moment that person walks through the door, they just cost you $100. Okay. So now you get to determine what is my ticket price going to be. So if it's going to cost you $100 to have that person in the room, then I think a clean, easy way to do it is just double it. Make the ticket price $200. That way 50% of it is going to expenses and the other 50% is paying you for your time and giving you a profit. Okay. So, and of course, depending on what you're selling, the market may say that it's actually worth more. So maybe it's a $500 ticket or a $1,000 ticket. I have taken my workshop on the road and charged $500 per person to be in the room. So it depends on what the thing is. Certain things usually cost less than others, right? Like an in-person podcast tour. I think for that, we were charging $50 per person to attend. So you can figure out what makes the most sense for you, but make sure it makes sense for your business mathematically. Because if it doesn't, you're getting yourself in trouble on day one, right? The math has to work for your business. If it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for your customer because you're going to be stressed. You're going to have to cut corners. You're not going to be able to deliver as good of an experience, right? If you are not charging something that is healthy for your business. Okay, so make sure you're doing that. So calculate the cost of attendance for your event and make sure financially it's making sense for you, okay? Now, once you've calculated that, you're going to add in your profit, as I mentioned. So you might be doubling the ticket price. Maybe your cost of attendance is only $25 because you're using borrowed venues. Great. Now you can sell it for $50 per person or more if you want to, okay? So let's say you have 200 people across 4 locations you have 200 people across 4 locations at $200 per ticket, right? Now let's talk about how much money you're going to make. That's the next thing we want to calculate is our profit, okay? So if you have 200 people across 4 locations at $200 per ticket, that's a total revenue of $40,000 that you can make from this tour, right? $40,000. Now remember, half of that is covering expenses, so your profit is $20,000. Not bad, okay? Pretty good. And if you only had 10 people attend at each location for a total of 40 people, that's $8,000 that you would make in total revenue, right? So also not bad, even with smaller numbers. And then all of those 40 people are potential clients. So it gets even sexier when you realize that this is a marketing cost. You are actually getting paid to market your business when you do a tour. That's why it's really smart and strategic because you get paid, you make money from it, and then you get to sell your thing at the event. So if you've got 200 people in the room and let's say 10% of them buy from you, and that's 20 people, right, that purchase your $10,000 package, now we're talking a lot more money just got made because you did this tour. Not only are you going to sell to people in the room during the tour, but the other benefit is that all of those people just experienced you. So even if they don't buy the thing, now they're warmed up hot leads. Now you can go home and you can send them a nurture sequence and maybe do a sales call, maybe invite them to a webinar, maybe do a challenge with them. And before you know it, a lot of them will become your customers as well. There's a friend of mine who runs a 7-figure business and she does lunches and dinners. And she's been doing it literally for like 10 years, hosting dinners in different cities. Every time she's going to an event, she hosts a dinner at that city. And she can trace back all of her highest paying customers to one of those dinners or lunches over the years. So when someone has that close connection with you, now they're ready to become a customer for life, right? That's one of the benefits of doing this tour. Okay, now, last but not least, I promised you a magic trick, okay? This is where a lot of bonus money is at. Okay, so here's my tip. Always do VIP. So if if you got 200 people coming to your tour or even 40, there's going to be a percentage of those people who always want VIP, right? VIP people they want to be in the separate room. They want the badge with the extra sticker color on it, right? They want the better beverages or the better meal or the better experience or the more access. There are just VIP people out in the world who see themselves as VIP and are always going to buy the VIP option, right? And there are people who maybe they want this opportunity to have a one-on-one with you or a small group conversation with you. Maybe they want this opportunity to ask their question, right? Any number of benefits can be included in a VIP option. So I highly encourage you, if you're going to do a tour, to add a VIP ticket. And the VIP ticket can include things like you get front row seating. Maybe they get a special VIP only Q&A with you after the event. Maybe they get a half-day mastermind. So like if you're doing a podcast tour, for the $1 Billion Creator Tour, we did the live podcast recording in the evening, but then during the day, we did a half-day mastermind event, right? That we could have charged lots of money for. We didn't, because we didn't need to. We're both running 8-figure businesses. But if we wanted to, and we talked about potentially making that a VIP add-on, right? So it could be a mastermind add-on. It could just basically, VIP means very important people, right? So like, what can you do to make those people who choose the VIP option feel like very important people? So whether it's giving them special access or special seating, or a special experience that's added onto your tour, you can charge a lot more. So if your tour ticket is $200, you might be charging $500 for VIP or $1,000 for VIP or even more, depending on exactly what you're offering. So VIP options have a lot more profit built in. So think about it. If you've already rented the venue and you're already paying the fee for that and it's already built into your costs, and so you're saying, instead of just using all of that time in the venue as setup time, I'm going to take 2 hours of the time that I'm already renting the venue for, because a lot of times you have to rent it for the whole day or a half day. So you're going to take some of that time, you incur no additional costs, and then you're going to use your own time to do a Q&A or some other kind of experience with them. So now you don't have much more hard costs, or maybe sometimes no additional hard costs. So if you charge that higher ticket price, now it's all profit, right? So it's still only charging you $100, right? Like that's all your expenses for that person is still only $100, but now you can charge them $1,000. So now you're making $900 instead of just an extra $100 for that tour ticket. So always do a VIP option. And frankly, this is true for most of business. Almost always have a VIP option, because there are a lot of VIP folks out there who want to feel like VIP. Just so you know, I am one of those VIP people, okay? So if there's a VIP option, if there is a ticket option that's higher than the ticket option that I have, I want it, okay? Like that's just who I am. I'm like, why am I not getting the best experience? Why am I having the mid-tier experience? No. We need the highest level experience, okay? So you get to capture the people in your audience like me who will always choose the VIP. So there you have it, friends. That is your, let's call it $1 million tour, okay? So take your company on tour, take yourself on tour, take your podcast on tour, take your book on tour, bring more attention to yourself. Tours work because they are rare. And people think they have to be chosen to do a tour, like somebody has to give you permission. You are grown and you are an entrepreneur. You can give yourself permission to go on tour. And just know that I have just given you permission to take yourself on tour, make some money, have deeper connections with your clients, have a lot of fun in the process, and get a fan base for life, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this episode. You're gonna go to hello7.co/tour, and there I'm going to have a download for you where I'll put all of these questions that we talked about so that you can get the tour planning doc all for free, and I'll see you on tour. All right, y'all, that's a wrap for today. I hope you're fired up and ready to make some serious moves. Remember, you've got the power to earn more, work less, and build a life that's rich in every way. But none of that happens without action. So get out there, make it happen, and keep pushing for those $1 million moves. And listen, if today's episode lit a fire under you, hit that subscribe button, drop a review, and share this with your crew. Let's spread this message far and wide and keep leveling up together. Until next time, keep it real and keep it rich. Hey, do you enjoy money? I do. If you want to make more money, then you need to join We Should All Be Millionaires, the club. Go to hello7.co/club to see everything you get once you become a member. hello7.co/club. In the club, we teach you how to maximize your earning potential, how to make better financial and business decisions, how to set up systems so that you're building wealth over time. We keep you focused on your financial and business goals, and we do fun activities throughout the year to keep you motivated. During our last money-making challenge, our club members earned a grand total of $3,519,262.66, okay? $3.5 million as a community. That's a lot of money, y'all. If you want to get in on this, go to hello7.co/club and become a member.